So I'm always wanting to start some new project because before you start it, it feels limitless. And in your mind, you have this vision of how perfect it's going to be. But once you get started in it, it's not perfect, right? And that means you've got to go through all the hard things. And probably when you finish it, it's not going to be what you imagined it in your head. It's going to be imperfect. It's going to be limited. It's going to be real. First of all, you have only one thing, so you have more energy in it. And by focusing on having it done rather than what isn't done, the to-do list, you are increasing your capacity to do meaningful work, and then you will feel better as well. So how do we do this? How would it feel to spend all that energy on one thing, something that really made a difference, that would move the needle? How would you feel on a daily basis if all you were doing was focusing on one thing and you were making meaningful progress on that? I just want you to think about in the next 90 days, what's most important right now? We don't need to have the best thing. We need to have one thing that'll really make a difference, and we're going to put all of our energy into that for the next 90 days. Welcome to Mastering Business Flow, the essential podcast for business owners ready to transform their work life. I'm your host, Lindow, a certified productivity and systems expert. I'll help you close that critical CEO gap, the gap between working hard and having real control over your business. We dive into the systems and skills of high-performing CEOs so that you can stop being stuck in daily tasks and start flourishing today. It's time to achieve simpler, higher quality living. Let's start flowing. Most entrepreneurs don't have an idea shortage. We have a filtering problem. And maybe this isn't you, but it certainly is me. Every new podcast, book, course, they all spark more and more ideas. And then we're left spread so thin that we can't make progress on anything. Every new idea for a project or a revenue stream or some magical system or software that's going to transform our business into a well-oiled machine growing at 10x our current revenue stream. However, there is a solution for all this from the Bible from thousands of years ago. Look straight ahead and keep your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Proverbs 4:24 through 27. As business owners, this is advice that we could all heed, right? It's looking straight ahead. Keep your eyes on what lies before instead of every podcast, every book, every course, every new piece of software. We need to look straight ahead, get that vision, and struggle relentlessly in one direction. In this episode, I'm going to talk about why the best thing that we can do for our business is focus on one thing, and why we almost never do focus on that one thing. And we're going to use that science of the brain to harness the power of one thing for your business. So let's get into it. The first problem we have with trying to focus on one thing is all the shiny objects. I think just about every business owner I talk to has fallen prey to this. In today's world, this is an even harder issue. So, Proverbs is talking about stay on that straight path, right? And what happens is that there's all these good ideas along the side of the path we've had. Maybe you have this vision for your business of where it's going to be, where it's going to take you. And it's a straight path in your head. But then what's happening is there's all these good ideas and distractions along the way. So instead of now going straight, you go from side to side. And instead of putting all of your energy into moving forward, you're zigzagging and you're meandering and you're wandering. And you keep thinking each one of these ideas that's pulling you aside, you think somehow it is a magical solution that is going to provide you the answer. The same thing happened with my running. Now, if you don't like running, stick with me because I hope this example is clear for you. Now, in running, there's lots of things that we can track to improve our performance. One is cadence, the rate at which your feet turn over. Maybe it's the distance, so that you're increasing that amount of distance. The pace, so like how quickly you can run that distance. And heart rate, so that is what zone you're in, zone 1 to 5. If you want to learn more about that, listen to episode 1. Now, all of these are really good things and tactics and measures to be tracking while you're running. And all of them will make you a better runner, right? The problem is I had a trainer who told me I needed to increase my cadence, but he told me I also needed to decrease my heart rate to keep it into zone 2. So I would listen to music set to 180 beats per minute to keep my feet turning over at that rate. And then I was also trying to track my heart and keep it at a lower rate. The problem was, as I was listening to music, it kept making me go faster and was making me hard to stay in zone 2. The other thing is I just kept bouncing from thing to thing what I was paying attention to. So what I did is I just gave up the cadence, my priority was the heart rate. And I found that the first time I did that, I was able to actually stay in my desired heart zone much longer than normal and for more time overall in the run. And that made the whole run easier by just focusing on one thing. The problem was I was too distracted, right? I was trying to track too many measures. But all of these measures were good. They're all good things for our running. But it's difficult when you're trying to do all of them at once. And because I was trying to do all of them once, I felt like I was a failure runner and running. And we do this in our businesses too, right? Where we hear all these things we need to do. And I do it all the time, but we hear of all these things we need to do. And so we try to do them all. And then we're not doing any of them well. And then we feel like a failure. We feel that we aren't doing the right thing. So then we look for some other solution. And in fact, Jim Collins in the book Good to Great, where he analyzes businesses that have outperformed the market by 3.5% for more than 15 years. There's only 11 of them in like 150 years. He found that the companies that fail, it's not because of bad ideas for the most part. It's rare that they fail because of bad ideas. They're failing more often because they have too many good ideas. They are going in too many different directions. That the truly great companies had a laser focus on one thing. And so this is what we're thinking, that we've got this ultimate goal with our business, but then we keep seeing these other things along the way, these good things we think they're going to help us get there. But really, it's more like a game of Candyland. You've looked at that windy path, right? And then as you get up in the path, you draw a card and it pulls you back. So this is what our business journey is like. We're going through the candy forest, and then there's the peppermint forest. It's the new tool, the new CRM, the new project management software. And then we spend weeks migrating our data, setting up the tool instead of actually getting work done. So maybe that feels good and you feel like it's a better system, but you're still at the beginning of the game. You haven't made any progress in Candyland. Or maybe you get distracted by the Gumdrop Mountains, or you draw a card for the Gumdrop Mountains. These are a bunch of, say, $27 courses or PDF templates or hacks that say they're going to give you this quick win in your business. And you're consuming all these little gumdrops, right? But they aren't giving you the real nutritional value that you need to scale. You're just chewing up lots of ideas and getting more ideas to pull you in more different directions. Then there's the licorice forest. This is the competitor comparison spiral. You see a competitor do something licorice sweet. Maybe it's a new reel style, a new offer, a new podcast, and you stop your one thing and you try to go copy them. Well, that means you lose your turn. You're busy trying to figure out what to do, and then you lose your momentum on your one thing. Then there's the peanut acres. This is the professional development overload. This is trying to go for all those certifications and 12-month masterminds, but they aren't actually aligned with your goals. It just feels like the smart or right thing to do. That's a nutty distraction. It feels like work. This is what we call motion rather than action, right? You're moving, you're doing things, but you're not actually making progress. And it's an escape from the messy middle of what you're trying to do. Then there's the lollipop woods, the vanity metrics, follower counts, likes, being a guest on lots of podcasts that aren't aligned with your target audience. This is what we call all sugar and no substance. It looks pretty. It looks good, but it's not moving you closer to the candy castle at the finish line. The molasses swamp is maximizing perfectionism. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. This is where you try to get every detail perfect before you're launching and you're stuck. So by all of these different things, if you just work on one of them, you're going to have a straighter path. You're not going to have that windy Candyland path going back and forth. The good idea can be a very dangerous distraction. If you spend your, say, 10% of your energy on 10 different good ideas, basically they talk about it's like, trying to build a bridge across a canyon, right? You start building one bridge, You get halfway across and you're like, oh wait, that's a better place over there to build a bridge. And then you start building that one. And then by the end, you don't have any finished business. So if you are spending all of your energy on all of these different good ideas, you're not spending as much on the one good idea or just any one of those ideas. If you put all of that energy into one, get it finished, get it done, you'll make progress and you'll be further ahead than putting a little bit of energy in all of the different good things. So that's the first one, is that there are too many good things and the good is the enemy of the great. The second problem that we have with trying to do one thing is that reality is messier than that shiny object in the window. I know when I was a kid, I used to love that, it was back in the days of Saturday morning cartoons and all the toy commercials that would play. And I was a huge fan of Barbies. And they would always show kids driving like Barbie cars through, like, it was basically their backyard, but somehow it looked like magical roads and forest. And it was like this whole new experience a whole new world they had created. I would get the Barbie car and I'm just like, I'm running around on my carpet or, it's just on top of the grass. It seems so lackluster and it didn't seem as interesting as it did when I saw it on the commercial. And this is actually true. There is this is called the Construal Level Theory, that when we see things from the outside, from afar, we don't see like the kind of the messy middle, the details, all the operational stuff that, once we get into it, we see. We just see this idea from afar and it looks really nice. So we think that solution is going to be our answer, that somehow it's easier, it's more magical, it is going to work better than whatever we currently have. So we start another project, and then once we start that project, we get into all the details, we get mired, it gets messy, and then we think we're doing something wrong. And we see another thing from afar. But just because we're seeing it from afar, not because it's actually any better, we think it's better. It looks better because we see it from the outside. So I just want you to think about that. That shiny object is in the window. You aren't in the middle of it, so it looks better. And it's appealing. So that's why we keep going after all these objects. We think somehow it's going to be better because we're not in it. It's only once you get in a project and get started that you see all the messiness, and all of them are like that. There is none that is a perfectly aligned and smooth process. And it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong if there are struggles and bumps along the way. The reality is that work can just be messy sometimes. And this is especially a problem for perfectionists, right? Because we think that it's not going perfectly, so it's no good, or that we've got to keep working on it or find a new object. And this is why perfectionists keep starting new objects, because of this construal level, what is it called again? Construal level theory. So we're seeing the things from afar, so we keep thinking that's the perfect solution. And that makes perfectionists really susceptible to shiny object syndrome. And I am going to admit right now, I am one of those. So I'm always wanting to start some new project, because before you start it, it feels limitless. And in your mind, you have this vision of how perfect it's going to be. But once you get started in it, it's not perfect, right? That's the messy middle. And when you want to finish something, that means you've got to go through all the hard things. And probably when you finish it, it's not going to be what you imagined it in your head. It's going to be imperfect. It's going to be limited. It's going to be real. And I know I've struggled with this many times. I have these great ideas for the perfect course or my perfect launch, and that, I have this idea of how it's going to work. And then when I get into it, building it, the details just kind of can bog me down. It's not going as well as I thought it went. It doesn't look as good as I thought it would. Hey, even the podcast has been like that, right? I had this vision in my head of how I'm going to sound when I get on. And then when I actually record it and then I listen to myself, it's nothing like that. So I could be stuck and never get it done, find other solutions. But instead, I do what we call satisficing. So a perfectionist is a maximizer, right? They're always looking for that best solution. Somehow there is a best solution for everything. It's going to be perfect. There's a better headline. There's something wrong with my products. And I know I keep doing this, even though I've been studying this for years now. But then you're just stuck in this analysis paralysis because you're looking for this better solution. Instead, it's better to have it done, right? And be learning through it. That is satisficing. Stop wondering if there's a better solution out there. Maybe there is, but think of all the time and energy you're wasting by looking for that better solution. Plus, there is no perfect solution. No matter what solution or thing you try, it's going to have problems once you start it. And believe me, I know, because I think I've tried just about all of them. So instead, what we want to do is be a satisficer. This is, you identify your key criteria and choose the thing that meets 80% of what you want to do. That 80-20 rule is wonderful, and it really works in here. And so I also like to set timelines, right? To satisfy. It's like, I'm going to look at 3 to 5 things. I've got 2 weeks, and then I'm going to pick one based on my 80% and budget rules. And you've got a good enough option, and then you just make that one work and you start doing it, right? And this will help you to get it done, because I want you to be aware that this is a trap that we have, that we tell ourselves that some other program we haven't started yet is somehow going to be better and going to be the magical solution. But no matter what program is out there, once you get started on it, it's going to have problems, and none of them are perfect. So just choose the one satisfies, choose the one that's going to do the good enough job. And so that's what you're going to do, is shift that standard from trying to think of this magic shiny object to a good enough one. It's going to be that Barbie, just kind of lackluster driving through, instead of the cool one you see on TV. So no, we aren't chasing the perfect. We want to instead chase that feeling of success that comes from completion, from actually going through with something and sticking into it, picking that one thing that's going to work instead of trying all of them. And let go of that image of perfection, because there is no such thing. Switch to that satisficing mindset. The third problem we have with trying to chase the one thing or focusing on the one thing is that we have so many projects going on that they're all kind of unfinished loops, draining our energy kind of behind the scenes, so we don't notice it, right? This unfinished business is draining our energy for the work that really matters. And this is why we want to do one thing. We think this big thing is going to take a lot of our energy. So maybe we have this dream of a big project we want to do, or a revenue stream that we want to work on, or we know there's this one thing that we could do with our business that's going to revolutionize our business. But we also think that one thing is going to take too much energy. But in reality, it's all those little things, all the good things that you're trying to do that are taking up that energy. Those 1,000 death by 1,000 paper cuts, or whatever they call it. What happens is every time you're starting one of these or chasing one of these new shiny objects, you are opening a new loop in your brain. And our brains are designed to keep those so that we're still paying attention to them. So any kind of unfinished business, what we call an open loop, is going to stay up in your brain so that you will pay attention to it. This is everything that you haven't done. So if you make a long to-do list, if you buy another piece of software, like that is one more open loop in your brain that's taking your energy. It's a bit like your smartphone. If you have every app open, or say 50 apps open in the background, it's going to drain your battery on your phone a lot quicker. And my watch, if I try to listen to music, track my heart rate, have it telling me when I'm out of pace, the watch doesn't last me but like an hour, and then it drains. It's too much drain on the energy. So then we have to, but if I cut all those things out and just listen to one thing, and I cut out all the background, like I don't listen to the music, I only do the heart rate, and I cut out all the background app, I can't remember what they call it, but I cut out all that, then my battery will last. All the energy is devoted to one thing. And we want to do the same thing with our business, right? We want to stop having all these little things that are draining our business and our energy, so that we're focused on the one thing, devote all the energy to that one thing. So every good idea is creating a new to-do list, and we just cannot do it all. And then we're measuring our success or our failure. We'll see it as a failure of all the things we haven't done, because now we have an impossible to-do list, and we see all the things we haven't done. So it's a shift in our mindset, right? Where our mind is trained to look at what's undone, and we're seen then as a failure because all we see is all this undone stuff. And we think that it's going to be impossible to ever turn our business around because we see all these things that need to be done and we haven't done. And then we ourselves feel as a failure because we haven't done them. That means every task, every half-written email, the unfiled papers, the junk drawer, all of these are basically like those programs running in the background on your phone, and they're drawing energy from the important work that needs to get done. It's not that you're unproductive or lazy. It's really that you're trying to do too much. All of this is due to what they call the Zigzag effect, which is that your brain wants to pay attention to these notifications. If you think about like with your phone, when all these are running in the background, it's to give you these notifications, right? So it's using that energy so it can notify you when you need to do something. And our brain is working the same way. Anything that's kind of left undone or open, it wants to remember so it can remind us. And so your brain is pinging you just like your phone pings you with notifications. And it's always on your mind. It keeps distracting. You may be doing one thing and then your brain is pinging you with these other things. So the first thing you wanted to work on, you can't. And your energy is devoted. You cannot get as much done on the one thing because you've got all these other background things going on. And it leads to higher stress levels because it's leaving you it's like if you ever look at I forgot what it's called on your computer, when you pop up the screen, you can see where all the resources are going, and you'll just see that your computer is running really slow, and maybe there's just too much software running, or one is draining a lot. The same is happening in your brain with every shiny object you started, all your list of undone to-dos. Those are all those things that are draining the energy from and that means there's energy you can't use to do what really matters. And the other thing is then you're like, because these notifications are coming up, and not just your phone notifications, but like your brain is trying to remember it. So it pops up little memories in your mind of something. It means your concentration is then constantly switching. And sometimes they've done some studies. They found it takes 20 minutes. Once your concentration is broken, it can take you 20 minutes to get back into that amount of focus. So it means that task that you were working on, that your brain then reminded you of another task, that first task is going to take you much longer to get done just because you've got all this other unfinished ideas bouncing around your head. So you've got 10 projects or, 10 shiny objects, 10 good ideas in your business. Each one of those is draining a different amount, and then they keep popping up in your brain and distracting you from getting anything done. And then you're never able to really drive anything, like the bridges. You're never able to get any of them fully completed. These are all invisible energy vampires, right? They're running in the background. Even your computer, even if it's off, it's still draining energy. And so what we want to do is kind of figure out, how do we unplug all these things so that they're not draining any energy at all? And I mean, honestly, if you have fewer projects, so like if you only have the one thing and you don't have the 10 things, it's like you've unplugged them and they're not draining any energy at all. You can focus all of your energy on what matters. Like if I have a big thing to do on my computer, maybe I'm doing a Zoom call and I'm presenting and recording all at the same time, I shut down all of the other apps on my computer, all the other browser tabs, so that all the energy can go into the programs that I need, and they will work better. They'll work faster. The same is true with your brain. So how do we get around this? How do we get around the idea of all this unfinished business just kind of reminding us, and our brain working against us to remind us of all the stuff we haven't done, and then us feeling down and low because we haven't done all these things? It's a simple mindset shift to focusing on what is completed. So first of all, instead of making a list of a million things and trying to do all the things in your business, if you have one thing you're focusing on, and then you don't have 10 things you're working on, you just have the one, that's going to help because you don't have as many things pulling your brain's energy and desire. But then the other thing you can do is break that one big thing. So say I need to get my podcast episode done. Then I think of just the one next thing I need to do that day. So not just publish my podcast, but maybe it could be come up with the SEO descriptions for the podcast. That's the most important thing. I just have that one thing. So when I break that down into one thing, and then I look and I can see at the end of the day, I've done that thing. If I just say I'm going to work on a project that's too big and I'm not going to be able to get it done. But when I break it down into something that I can do, then I can check that out. That actually gives me a dopamine hit, and I feel a sense and a rush of reward because I was able to do it. And so you want to think of any small action you can take in one sitting, and just break it down into something you can clearly finish that day and mark it off. And you want to focus on getting something done each day. Then you'll feel much lighter. And you've got a done list, not a to-do list. Then you're focusing on, instead of your lack and what you haven't done and feeling down and like you're overwhelmed and you'll never get it accomplished, you'll be able to feel that sense of accomplishment. It'll give you energy to do more things. Plus, you're actually making progress instead of just sitting there, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do on this, podcast. There's a million things. I've got the one thing. Oh, I've got it done. Okay, what's the next thing? Just one thing at a time. You're making small, meaningful movements, and this is that 1% rule, right? The marginal improvements, one thing at a time. And then you actually start to make progress. So when you're focusing on that one thing and you finish it, you're putting, first of all, you have only one thing, so you have more energy in it. And by focusing on having it done rather than what isn't done, the to-do list, you are increasing your capacity to do meaningful work, and then you will feel better as well. So how do we do this? How do we put it all into action, right? How do we get rid of all these shiny objects and actually do the thing and focus only on one thing? Well, I want you to imagine if you really put all of your energy into one thing in the next quarter for your business, how would it feel to spend all that energy on one thing, something that really made a difference, that would move the needle? How do you think it would impact the bottom line in your business? How would your stress levels feel? How would you feel on a daily basis if all you were doing was focusing on one thing and you were making meaningful progress on that? So how are we going to do that? First of all, if you have an overall vision for your business, I just want you to think on one thing you could do to move towards that. If you don't have a big vision for your business, your life, don't worry about that right now. I just want you to think about, like, in the next 90 days, what's most important right now? What's one thing, if I could do, that would really make a difference in my business if I just did that one thing? And ask yourself that too. Like, if you did nothing else, only that one thing, what would that one thing be? It doesn't have to be the best thing. Remember, we're satisficing. We don't need to have the best thing. We need to have one thing that'll really make a difference, and we're going to put all of our energy into that for the next 90 days. The most important thing. Then the second thing is decide only one next step. What's something you can do either today or tomorrow that you can finish in one sitting that will move you towards that one thing, that goal? You don't need to overthink it because, the order does not have to be perfect. The point is that we're getting things done. As you get it done and as you get into it, you will learn how to do it better. You'll feel that sense of accomplishment. And remember, again, it's got to be specific. Don't just say build a website. Maybe say draft my about page. The point is to cross it off, to get it done, and send the signal to your brain that you are a finisher. Another thing you can do to help, this is like an optional third step, is make a tracker and just check off. This is the Jerry Seinfeld method, right? Check off each day that you actually do it, and just seeing over the days how they add up. I mean, you think about that meaningful progress every day over time is going to make a big difference, and it's going to start to change your identity and motivate you to take on even more big things. Plus, you may get that one big thing done completely, and you'll be ready for another big thing. And then say you did that every quarter, you've got 4 really big things you've done that quarter. That's going to be huge for your business, right? I hope from listening to this about this one thing that you will see the importance of not trying to do it all in your business. Just focus on one thing and think about how you can turn that into something you do today and mark it on your done list. Let's focus on done over perfect, getting things moving towards the goals that are going to make a difference in our business. And we're not worrying about perfect. There's no perfect solution. We're worried about one thing that will make a difference and how we relentlessly pursue that goal. We're going to take that straight path, as in Proverbs, rather than the Candyland meandering, going through the gumdrop forest and all those things. Everything one day that's going to move you towards that big goal. And you are going to start changing the way you view your business, and you're going to see results. If you're tired of all this productivity debt and you want some help, please sign up for my free email course with one thing to focus on each week to grow your business. It's at www.cordslindell.com/business-growth. Oops, I don't need .com in there twice. I don't know why I said that. And I also am available for private coaching to really help walk you along the way if you need help. Don't forget to subscribe, and to make sure you get the next episode, be sure to like and share with others so that other people can find this episode. Until next time.